I don't know why this keeps happening, but it's great. Real professional. Professional quality entertainment we've got here. Let me see if I can get the chat up. All right, got some folks. Yes, thank you, Judy, for telling people to reload. All right, chat's back. Oh, sorry, the stream's back up. Let me drop that into the IRC. Okay. Apologies for that, folks. I don't know, like the network died or something. I don't know exactly why that happened, but it happened. So let's get back to it. So what I was actually doing at that moment was trying to set up a basic configuration file for Sway to be placed in the config path so that we know that it will be there whenever it's time to boot up. We're going to start very simply with this. We're going to try to expand a little bit as we go. I'm going to try to do some packages here. List, where is Sway in the set of packages? Let's see. Let me know if anybody's having issues with the, excuse me, the stream. Thanks, Russell. All right, so I'm looking for Sway. That is under Window Manager. Okay, cool, great. So I'm not pulling that in yet. I'm gonna pull that in here, WM. Let's leave version control. We kind of want that. Bootloaders, certs, desktop. Okay, let's leave it. Stay with that. Thank you, CMac. So I'm gonna pull in Sway. I want to pull in what else? Sway. Sure, Sway BG. In fact, let me go look at my own desktop configuration. If I go to Common and then pull up the desktop services. I'll probably just copy across some of these things. I don't want to pull across too much. I'm just going to copy it all, and then I will pare it down when I get it over into the other file. So this is going to be in the minimal Sway file. I'll just drop those in, and I'll go re-indent all of these. Okay. All right, so Sway idle, Sway lock, Waybar, don't need that. Fuzzle Mako, Gamma Step, not really important in the beginning. Grimshot could be useful for screenshots if you needed to like show somebody a problem that you're having with your new setup. Network Manager applet, definitely want that. Probably want to have XOR server Wayland. Don't care about Flatpak quite yet. Kind of like extra stuff you don't need. So I'm going to get rid of those as well. Might want a browser. Let's pick one that is available. Maybe IceCat. What's a simpler browser, though, that could work for most people? Because IceCat's kind of big, but maybe it's fine. What do you think about that? Let's go with IceCat for now. What's IceCat minimal? Anyway, this is in the GNUzilla package module. So let's put, let's say right here, GNUzilla. I already have Emacus. Ah, you said Emacus. I thought we were talking about like some kind of on Google Chromium. Yeah, let's do that. thought we were talking about some kind of, you know, Australian McDonald's version of Emacs. The Australians in the chat know what I'm talking about. If there are any. I don't think we have any Australians in the chat today, do we? It's a little bit late in the day for, or let's say in the middle of the morning for people in Australia. Let's see. World clock. It is 4 a.m. in New Zealand, which means it's probably sometime close to that in Australia. So sorry, Australian friends. Shit Wizard's not here right now. I think he's Australian, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that. Anyway, so we got these things here. We got a browser. So we definitely want, I think we want XDG open because that might be useful for general stuff. Dbus proxy probably, MIME info. I think you kind of want that. The bin output of glib, I think that has G settings, which can be useful, but Edge Crusher. It's only 1:45 a.m. Well, that's pretty damn late. So kudos to you for sticking around for the stream. So themes, how much do we care? I mean, it'd be nice to have a decent appearance. We can kind of replicate my own thing. I don't care about Breeze icons. GNOME themes extra. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm using Advaita for things now. So pulse volume control. I could be using Advaita now instead of the other ones I was using. So I could probably get rid of these two. Fonts. Don't need all these fonts. We could stick with JetBrains Mono as a default. Probably want the Liberation fonts. Don't care about Qt Wayland. Password store, you probably want to set that up yourself. MPV, I mean, who's going to be playing videos as soon as they set up their computer? You will want to have also utils and Pavu control, though, for audio control. There's probably other options you could use for this, too, that aren't so heavy graphically. We don't need these things. General utilities, we probably do want some of those, though. What am I doing? I keep pressing Control K. All right. Video utils. Okay. So that seems like a pretty good basic set of packages. We're not going to do anything fancy with. We're going to need to pull in a bunch of. I have to pull in a bunch of different package modules for this too. So in the desktop. Oh, here we go. That's a great expression to pull over. Now the question is, are we going to get to try this thing before the stream's over? I don't know. I think we will. Let's see. Have faith. Have faith. When have I ever given you reason to doubt me? You mean like every time? Maybe. All right, so pull that out. Now, some of these aren't needed. I'm not going to worry about that too much. They're just imports. They're not going to do anything to us. There's nothing to fear. I'll just leave it as it is for now so we can start building this thing in a moment. Okay, so for the main user, we're going to have to set up the service for the Geeks home config. So if I do a little list here, actually, let's do an append and a list on the inside. We'll indent it slightly differently. All right, so if I go back to my own configuration, if I look at my base.scm file, there's the Geeks home service type. So we can try to apply that as well. Just like that. Arnaud told me the key binding for this and I already forgot it. Okay, so we need a way to streamline this. We don't have it right now. We're gonna do it in a moment though. So home config. Probably what I should do is separate out the user account into a, you know, maybe defining some variables at the top would be a good idea. So define user name, David Will. Ooh, I bet I'm overwriting a binding, right? Okay. Good. All right. So we've got a Geeks home service type. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a system level service in your operating system configuration that is able to apply a Geeks home configuration, a home environment configuration for a specific user whenever you are applying your system config. I've actually been using this recently and it works well enough. I never have to go and individually apply my Geeks home configuration anymore. Also says, will duplicates hurt? WM in there twice? No, it's just a, it's just for imports, so it won't hurt anything. We'll clean that up a little bit later. All right. So that's all the stuff for Sway. We need to put Emacs in here too. So if I were to put in good old Emacs PGTK, that should be enough. I might have Emacs in this list. I don't see it. We'll put it here. Cool. And all the map device stuff, it won't really matter right now. I'm going to try to run this in a Geeks container. So Geeks system help. Container. Build a container that shares the host's store. I wonder if it would go all the way through to setting up the home config as well. We're going to find out. So Geeks system container, and I'll say minimal sway. Let's see what happens. Did you forget packages rsync? Let me go back and take rsync out of the config, because I think I did mean to remove that. Let's take out Emacs next here as well. In fact, maybe we don't need anything in the system level packages. Maybe we'll just install packages only for the main user, because why not, really? So we had Git here, and we already have Emacs somewhere else. I think that's all we need. So let's give that a shot again. Go back over to eShell, and we're going to run the Geeks system container. Geeks home service type, unbound variable. Well, that makes sense, because I need to pull that in base. Let's see. Service modules Geeks. All right. So in minimal sway, use service modules. I'm going to go over here and add Geeks to the end. Let's try that again. We'll see how long this takes. I don't exactly know if it's going to work. All right, seems like it's doing something. I hope this doesn't take the stream down. So just be aware that the stream might get a little bit choppy now that it's trying to build a system config. Hopefully it won't affect things too much. All right. Peter says GNOME Web. Yeah, there is a browser for that. I don't remember what it's called. Nautilus? Or Nautilus is the file manager. Epiphany, Robin said. Yeah. Maybe that's the one. Cool. That might take a while. Midori. So let's see. Epiphany must be there, right? Okay. Web browser targeted non-technical users. Principles are simplicity and standards compliance. It's just using WebKit GTK, I imagine. I wonder if it's more lightweight than IceCat. But as we see, it's downloading all the IceCat stuff from substitutes right now, so maybe it's fine. And once it downloads this the first time, I won't have to do it again. So hopefully subsequent Geeks system calls will not take so long. Did I actually export the operating system config at the end? Yeah, okay. So, I mean, we may not actually get around to running the sway config. We'll see. But if we can at least verify that all the files are there and the configuration is there, then that's a good first step. And then we can try to run it at the end once we've got a lot of stuff in place as we expect it to be. We've got about 35 minutes, so I think we should be able to make some progress in at least validating that the programs are being installed the way we want them to, the home environment's set up the right way, and the sway config has the contents we want it to have. CMAX says, is first pass using GDM? Yeah, I will take that out. So it's pretty easy to just delete that service so that you just get dropped to the terminal. So I'll do that instead. I wonder if it's going to take longer to build right now because of that, though. We'll see. We'll just see how long it takes. But in the meantime, it might be useful to discuss with the smaller number of you who are here now because the stream crashed, what people are interested in seeing in terms of Geeks videos. I'm trying to figure out like what is the most valuable thing I could be doing video-wise right now. As I mentioned, the org mode videos didn't get quite as much interest as I expected them to, which doesn't mean that people don't like them. It just means that maybe that's not the topic that people are interested in at the moment. So I'm thinking about trying a couple other things and see if people are a bit more interested. I think there's still a lot of interest in Geeks, even though it's very niche. There's not a lot of good information out there about Geeks, so it might be worthwhile to try to make a few more Geeks videos since I kind of dropped off the map with that at some point. Even though we keep talking about Geeks on the channel, I would say, do you think we do Geek streams more than we do Emacs streams? I feel like I'm using Geeks a lot on streams. So got a lot of streams talking about Geek stuff and, you know, making some progress, learning some things, but not actually making videos explaining it. So I think that's what's been missing. Then again, people might not care too much. Who knows? Cal says, last time you tried to write a minimal image definition, it was hundreds of megabytes. Is that still bad? I don't know. It might be. I'm not that worried about that part, though. CMAX says, optimizing for a config length, not space. Yeah. Gun says, there was one video on org mode this year. As far as I know, there were two. I posted two recently. Perhaps a poll in the discourse. Maybe I could do that, actually. How to port Arch packages to Geeks would be nice. That's an interesting idea. Might be difficult, though, because I would imagine that many Arch packages are not building programs from source. So you would have to figure out how to build them from source to put them into the Geeks repository. Maybe this is almost done. Fate says, I like the org videos. Well, thanks. I appreciate that. Sakarosium says, to be honest, the most deterring thing of Geeks is the GNU ideology. I love free software, but I need sometimes things that GNU sees as bad. Well, that's the thing about Geeks, though, is that you are not beholden to the ideology of the maintainers of Geeks itself, because you can pull in whatever channels you want. And I kind of feel like that's a missing thing with the Geeks community, mainly because the main project is kind of not allowed to promote the use of the non-free kernel and firmwares because they are a FSDG certified distribution, basically a free software distribution guidelines thing. Effectively puts rules on the distribution about what you can and can't do. And Faith says you can't even discuss the subject in Geeks channels. Yeah. So it's something that's been needed for a while, where there's kind of like a community on the side where there's a lot more help for setting up systems with all the full stuff, you know, like Geeks itself I consider it a technology and a base distribution, but then everybody else is fully free to build on top of that, and all the tools are there to make your own distribution of Linux that's based on Geeks that does whatever you want it to do. So I kind of feel like it's more of a community organization problem. People kind of working in the same direction to build that next layer on top. And I mean, obviously that's what RDE has been doing. Andrew Tropin started the RDE project to make a better distribution of Geeks, but it's still pretty niche. So, you know, it hasn't really kind of captured more mind share, even though people are using it as their Geeks distribution. Let's see, let's try to run this container. Operation not permitted. I probably need to run this as sudo, right? So do I want to do this in an eat shell? Eat. All right, so sudo run container. I remember the last time we were trying to use Geeks container. It was, we were having fun, weren't we? Oh, we need to drop into a shell. Run sudo ns-enter to get a shell into it. Fantastic. I forgot about that whole game we had to play. Let's see. Oh, come on. Typical eat problems. Bade says, I was defeated twice by the Geeks NVIDIA Nexus before I found system crafters. Haven't returned to the problem. Yeah, it's the NVIDIA thing is still a pain. The people in the non-Geeks community or channel have done a lot of work to improve the NVIDIA experience, and I think it is much better now. But it's still a lot of work to get the drivers updated to the latest versions, and I think there's some stuff that still isn't fixed yet. So they need help there. If anybody wants to like get involved in that effort and try to help, it would be useful. But yeah. All right, root, ls home David Will. It's not there. Why isn't there a user configuration in there? There's nothing in there. Okay. So what did I miss? Nothing really. I wonder if, all right, so Geeks system container. So do users not get created? That wouldn't make a whole lot of, excuse me, wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. Oh, this is in the cookbook. So let's go back to the actual manual. It's in the cookbook also. Geeks manual. Let's go to the Devel version. Let's see, one page per node. Let's say container Geeks system. Where is the Geeks system? Booking Geeks system. That's not what I'm looking for. There it is, right there. Return a script to run the operating system you declared in file within a container. Run as root. It doesn't say anything like, oh, they're exposing home and stuff. Maybe it doesn't create a home. All right, well, in that case, we won't be able to run it this way, but maybe we can test out the home config in a Geeks home configuration container, because that is possible. So I'll briefly switch this up. What I'll do is define OS config. Just go down to the bottom, put that in. Let me go back up to the beginning and then try to run. That was wrong. Control meta Q. It did not do it. There we go. Okay, so here I'm going to return home config instead. That way I can use Geeks home. What is it? Sorry, go back to eat. I'm sorry, what? Oh, okay. A little confused for a moment there. All right, so all right, cool. We got another eat going. All right, so now go back to temp and then Geeks home help. There is a container. All right, container home environment configuration in a container. So Geeks home container. That's gonna be minimal sway.scm. We'll see what this does. And I might have to change some things to make it so that sway can launch. That should be enough. I got a notification on my phone that the Wi-Fi went down. That's probably what happened before. To make the stream go dead. All right. It might be done soon. Are we talking about KDE in the chat? Fade says KDE is actually kind of great. I don't know, man. It looks pretty, you know, it's all slick and everything, but it's not really for me. I'm the #1 KDE. I say hater in the sort of the popular lingo. I don't hate KDE, but I'm a KDE hater. Robin says, soon you'll have me running Wayland just to try KDE. All right, here we go. Where are we? LSAL. All right, so .config, sway, config. All right, so it is there. Cat. Come on now. All right, so the exact Emacs is in there. So if we were to try to run sway in here, it might do something. Let me see. All right, cool. Could not get primary session for user, no data available. I feel like we've tried this before, and exposing the necessary environment stuff to make sway work was a pain in the ass. And it might not have actually worked. So run sway in Geeks home container. Let's see if this shows up somewhere. There's ways to expose things from the local system. So literally expose. What if I try this? Expose /dev. I don't know how dangerous that is. Why is it taking so long for it to load up again? Hello. Okay, it started. All right, so can I get a primary session for user? No data available. Whew. All right, maybe we need to expose run also. And as far as environment variables are concerned, I don't know if we need to expose any environment variables so it can run inside of the current session. I'm not going to screw around with that very much. I think the really important part is just seeing that a configuration gets put down. We could try running that configuration from my local system. Won't it need the XTG stuff? I don't know if it needs it. All right, no backend was able to open a seat. Function not implemented. It's not getting access to some things it needs. What would be a good... Oh, can I do that? That'd be nice. Gonna run sway immediately. Huh. I mean, I could try to expose slash, but that won't work because I'm trying to not expose the home directory. I want the home directory to stay pristine. Okay. What else in root do I need? Dev. Maybe I don't need it to do all this extra stuff if I can expose the environment variables. So Geeks home container help. There's a way to pass through environment variables from the current environment. Where is it? Share expose. Geeks container environment variable. Preserve. Okay, does preserve work as a parameter in that case? Okay, so Wayland. So preserve doesn't work for this. Oops, that was a mistake on my part. Unrecognized option. Huh. I feel like one of these works with that. Maybe it's just Geek shell. So Piotr says in the YouTube chat, the NVIDIA situation should only get better, though. If you have a new enough Mesa on most modern cars, you shouldn't need the proprietary drivers to get Vulkan and OpenGL. It's only for touring cars and later, sadly, because older generations are sadly stuck in the signed and handicapped firmware hell. Well, that would be kind of cool, actually, if the sort of out-of-the-box experience gets better. Because Nouveau, the sort of built-in drivers in Linux, in the kernel, are not so great. Okay, so got 15 minutes. I'm not going to try and force this to work. I think the thing to see here is that it is possible to make a configuration that would install this stuff. And we did actually see in the container that I changed it. That the configuration files are in the place where we want them to be, so it is possible to build this out. So, hello to Spiros. Spiros says, I'm usually here for Emacs. Can I have a 20-second intro to what Geeks and containers are, how they work? I was under the impression that Geeks is kind of like Nix, but that's all I know. Yeah, Geeks is kind of that kind of system where it's an immutable package manager / system management tool, and you could do various different things with it. We were just trying to use a container so I don't have to blow up my own configuration to try something out. But in the future, it probably will be a good idea to use actual hardware whenever I have enough machines to try all this stuff out without breaking everything as I usually do. So let me try just to put a couple things together. So what do I want from in here? What I want is, I don't know if we need the dbus activation environment thing. That could probably come later, but we do want this kind of thing. We want to pull in a few applications into this default configuration. And, whoops. Okay, right here is where it started. How would I best set that up? Probably define a sway config and just have that be a string. What was it? String append? I suppose I could do an apply on that too. You just have it be a list of strings that I dump into that mixed text file. So we'll just do it this way first. We're just going to dump it in like that. So exec mako will, whoops, throw the JetBrains mono, blah, 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 blah. All these colors, I mean, someone can make it configurable, but that kind of defeats the purpose of having a minimal configuration. We just want something that will get somebody up and running as fast as possible. Okay, so that's one string. No, that's the end of the string. Okay, and then here we're gonna run the exec nm applet, exec emacs. All right, and then we also had the binding for fuzzle, which I need to go back and find. Fuzzle, no, fuzzle, there we are. Mod space, I'm gonna dump that first. Papyrus dark icon theme. Maybe I'll leave that off to start with, no problem. Let's see, we got the font, JetBrains mono, that's cool. All right, so we need to set up the mod variable in the sway config to start with, and that's at the very top here. And this is very opinionated. The whole point is that it's an opinionated configuration to get someone started. You should be able to just install this and then log in and start using it. So let's see. Probably need some new lines on the end of all of these too, but I'm gonna hope. Actually, let's try this. Let's try this. All right. We'll do it that way. Sway config and then mixed text file. Here I can say apply. I'm hoping mixed text file is not some kind of syntax. Scheme procedure. Okay, so we can use apply, no problem. And then this takes a list. Sorry. Scheme apply. Okay, function argument list. So let's see. Here we need an actual list. So I'm going to say list sway config exec emacs and then append. There, I could probably backquote this. Splat it. How about that? No. Hold on. I'm already backquoted, so I probably can't do that more. So we're going to do this the normal way. So list sway config. I'm going to const that. Const sway config onto sway config, right? That's going to be a list for the parameters to mixed text file. That should do the trick. What am I missing? It almost sounds like feature sway from RDE. Not really. Feature sway is a lot more fleshed out, let's say. This is very, very, very basic. Okay, so we got these lines here. I mean, I could have put those down below, but maybe it's better just to have them here so that it's easier to keep an eye on it. And why don't I put this in a separate file? Because I'm trying to have a single file configuration that someone can just pick up and drop in. Oh, Benoit says more minimalist but still opinionated configuration. Well, yes, that's definitely true. So that's enough to get the programs running. We can set up background and stuff like that, but I'm not going to worry about that too much right now. We would need to use a file-like object somewhere to refer to a background that was placed in the GNU store. So that would change the way that I do all this, I think, if we ultimately did that, but we're not doing it for now, so we can kind of keep it simple. I could also use the package objects to bake in the full path to Mako, NMApplet, Fuzzle, etc. But not really necessary because you already got the Geeks home environment set up, and that will take care of the path issues that you would otherwise have. So it's not really necessary to do that. Let's see. That's pretty much it. We got the programs we need installed. We got the basic sway configuration, and we're talking really basic here. We're not really doing anything special with it. What else would I want to do as a... I mean, obviously the visual configuration is part of it. Being able to set the background, set the font size on the sway config, that's all fine. You can do that, but is there anything more important? We're launching Emacs by default. Let me check my own config. The only other thing is really using G settings to set the themes inside of the environment, which ultimately you'd want to do that, but it's not super important. The bar configuration, I mean, you kind of want a bar, but there's already a default config in Sway, so really it's just a matter of tweaking that. All this workspace configuration isn't really necessary for a sort of out-of-the-box config. Display configuration is not really necessary either, unless somebody needs to add some. It could be useful to have an like a little escape hatch where if someone wants to inject some extra configuration into their Sway config without having to edit the Geeks home config, they could do that. So for instance, I have this include in my configuration where I'm kind of picking up a file from a specific location. It could be the case that I could, excuse me, say that have an include at the beginning and the end and look it up at a specific path. So I don't know if that's going to work. Actually, it depends on how the home environment sets up the Sway config file. Let's actually take a look at that really quick. We'll run this and see where we're at. Track of time. What do you mean? The current time for time remaining for the stream. I mean, we've pretty excuse me. We've kind of accomplished what I intended to accomplish, but we can't actually run it because we don't have the ability to apply this configuration to a full machine at the moment. Oh, let's take that Sway part off. So when I get in here, I want to look at the config/sway folder and see if the whole folder is symlinked. Oh, okay. Benoit was answering Nakotani. Nakotani had to go and change his name, use an uppercase N instead of a lowercase n. And it's confusing everyone. These are things you just don't do. You're part of a community. You don't change your profile picture. You don't change your name because then nobody knows who you are anymore. You're basically anonymous at that point. ls.config sway. I should probably put an AL there. All right, so that file is symlinked, but is the Sway folder symlinked? No. So we could actually do that. We could have a special little hook. if someone wanted it, maybe it's not the best thing in the world to do, but if someone wanted it, we could do it that way. Minimal sway. At the very beginning, we could have an include. You missed me being on time. Yeah, I mean, sure. Is that so special? Config, sway, before config. Is that the right syntax? Yep. So we could put something there, and then we could put something after too. So someone could add their own files in their config sway directory to have some insertions there to configure things themselves if they want. Ashra says, I missed last week's stream. I only had a glance. Did you order parts for the new machine? No, we never finished the configuration for that because I was so late and we didn't really get a chance to go through it all. So yeah, not there yet. We're gonna revisit that soon. I think maybe next week. We'll see. Okay, let's run this one more time, and we'll call the stream done probably after that. I am going to continue working on this because I would like to produce a configuration for the purpose of bootstrapping, like I mentioned before. So this will not be the last time you see this configuration. It's not that long either. I mean, so far it's only 132 lines. I think that in total, probably won't be more than about 200 lines, which is not that bad. So let's take a look at that folder. ls config sway. And we're going to cat that out just to take a look at it. I wonder if it's got new lines in it. Oops, cat. What am I doing? I'm losing it here. Config. Yeah, no new lines. Fun. What are we going to do next week? I don't know. Because I always figure it out the same day of the stream. Because, you know, it's all contextual based on the things that I'm currently doing in my life. Or coping with. Breaking. Map. Lambda. Because I don't want to go put a new line on each of these lines. str. String append. str. New line. We're going to map over this list. And just drop some new lines on all of these. Let me just go here. Control Alt Q. And then close off this expression. Go back into the shell. Run it again. Ashraz, are you hinting that you're bored, says Trev? All right, so cat config sway config. All right, that looks better now. I think that would do the trick. I mean, that's a basic configuration that doesn't really do much other than, you know, set up a couple things, but, you know, it's something we could build on and add just the minimal stuff necessary to have a nice looking desktop environment that's functional. And as Technomag suggested, we might need to have some way to document how the environment works so that when someone sets it up for the first time, they will not be completely lost because a minimal sway environment is pretty much what you see right now. Like, you don't see much. You would probably see the bar up at the top, but you're not going to see anything on the screen. You're not going to know how to launch applications or, you know, move around in the environment. So there may need to be a basic tutorial baked in somehow, which is not too hard to excuse me, to imagine putting together. So it might be cool. I don't know how worth it all this is, but it's just an exercise for me. You know, the reinstallation process of the last couple of weeks definitely gave me some thoughts on how I might try to improve installation for other people, and this is part of it. Just being able to get set up with a minimal config that's kind of Emacs driven out of the box without having to think about it. Because really, one of the biggest challenges getting started with Geeks is you either have to use like one of the in the box like GNOME configurations that they give you, or you have to try to set up your own configuration in advance before you've even used Geeks before. And how are you going to know how to do that? So if there is a more simplified configuration that somebody can start with, and it's kind of well understood because a lot of people started with it, there's documentation for it, maybe a video explaining how to use it, then it might be easier for someone to get that as a jumping off point and start working on their own configuration to build on. Benoit says, I like the home sway service type approach from Andrew, who generates config out of Lisp structures. Would be great to have that in core. I think there was some reason why the RDE services weren't very easily portable over to Geeks. There's some difference in opinion on how things are supposed to work, I think. I think the RDE uses patterns that aren't as well liked in the Geeks repository for defining services. So the ideal thing would be for someone to write a home sway service type from scratch that would be acceptable to the Geeks maintainers so that this kind of thing can be done. It really needs to be done. Like, at this point, I've been wanting something like that because writing a sway config is fine. Excuse me. And it's nice to have a handwritten sway config if you need to use it on different systems and not just Geeks. But for Geeks itself, it would be nice to be able to have a simpler way to configure all your sway stuff in your Geeks config and not have to drop down to another config language. Yeah, RDE is the reproducible development environment. Tropin RDE. It is a Geeks distribution, customized Geeks distribution that is opinionated and polished and has its own kind of configuration system that is a bit simpler sometimes than typical Geeks config. So definitely worth checking out if you want to look at alternative Geeks distributions that have their own way to do things and give you a nice configuration or a nice configured experience out of the box, let's say. Andrew T is not Andrew Tannenbaum. No, it's Andrew Tropin. Okay. So we started the stream on time. We lost a couple minutes because the stream broke. But now we're ending basically on time, which is great because I'm hungry and this cold or whatever virus I have is starting to kick my ass a little bit. So I think we'll call it there. I will drop the configuration that we worked on today into the show notes so you can take a look at that. Also, just remind you again, those of you who are still here, that I've turned the hands-on Guile scheme for beginners course into an on-demand course now. So you can basically jump into that and take it at any time you would like. Unlike the previous way we did this. Where is this? September. There it is. Unlike the previous way we did this, where it was a sort of a cohort style course where you have like, you know, iterations with different groups of people who are coming in taking it. This one is fully on demand. You can get into the course and then watch it as fast as you want. So that is something that you can do now, which is cool. Ashra says, that would be a great topic for a newsletter, right? Yes, it would be. I need to write a new newsletter. I just haven't done it in a while. I hate sending newsletters only when I have something to promote, but you know, the old ADHD type thing kicks in usually, and I don't stick to the plan on newsletters. I'm trying to get better at that because newsletters cool. Forum post too, yep. Social media posts. Next week is when I'll start doing some of those things. But for those of you who are here early, you get the news early. So just, yeah, reminding on that. Also, the Autumn Lisp Game Jam's coming up in October, which is about, you know, a little over a month away, but good thing to know about. All right. Thank you all so much for being here. Appreciate your time and attention and your patience with the whole situation. And let me know in the comments if you have any thoughts or you know, hit me up on the IRC, anything like that. Until next time, have a great weekend and happy hacking. We'll see you next time.